Do you know that every night while you sleep, there's a thief sneaking into your wallet? Not through ATM hacking, not through robbery, but something far more sophisticated and dangerous. $1 from 2004 now only has the purchasing power of 30 cents today. This means 70% of your wealth has vanished silently. And this thief is called inflation. Today, I'm going to expose the truth that 99% of Americans have no idea about. How the financial system silently robs your wealth every day, every hour, every minute. Before diving deep into this issue, let me tell you a true story. Meet Robert, a 55-year-old engineer from Ohio who worked for a state company. In 2004, Robert had $200,000 in savings, a substantial amount back then, enough to buy 2 small houses in Columbus. He decided to keep it in savings because he thought safety first. 20 years later, with compound interest, Robert's money had grown to $500,000. Sounds like it increased 2.5 times, right? But the harsh reality is that with that $500,000, Robert can now only buy half of an old condo. Who stole Robert's wealth? The thief is called inflation. Listen, they say U.S. inflation is only 3 to 4% per year, but I'm going to show you the shocking real numbers. A McDonald's Big Mac went from $2.90 in 2004 to $5.50 in 2024, an increase of 90%. A Starbucks coffee went from $1.50 to $5, an increase of 250%. A gallon of gas went from $1.88 to $3.50, an increase of 86%. Rent for a 1-bedroom apartment went from $800 to $2,500, an increase of 213%. College tuition went from $15,000 a year to $55,000, an increase of 267%. A doctor's visit went from $80 to $300, an increase of 275%. You see, real inflation isn't 3 to 4%. For the things you use daily, the real number is 8 to 12% per year, sometimes reaching 15 to 20% in certain years. That's why even though your salary increased from $40,000 to $120,000 over 20 years, a 3x increase, life still feels harder than 20 years ago. Because housing increased 4x, food increased 2 to 3x, and gas increased 2x. You're losing this race, and the more you try to save by putting money in banks, the faster you lose. Who has been stealing your purchasing power? Why are the official numbers so different from reality? And most importantly, how can you protect yourself? I'll tell you straight, inflation is not about prices rising. That's just the consequence. Inflation is your money losing value due to money printing. When the Federal Reserve prints more money and pumps it into the system, what happens? It's like adding water to a glass of milk. The glass is still the same size, but the concentration decreases. The money in your pocket is still the same paper bills, but the purchasing power decreases. Imagine a small island with only $100 million in circulation and 100 loaves of bread. Each loaf costs $1 million. This is the natural equilibrium price. Now the island's government decides to print another $100 million to stimulate the economy. There's now 200 million in the market, but still only 100 loaves of bread. What will happen? The price of bread will rise to $2 million per loaf. It's not because the bread got better, but because there's more money. People still hold the same old bills, but purchasing power has been cut in half. That's the essence of inflation. But the crucial question is, who gets that newly printed $100 million first? It's not you, it's not Robert the engineer, but the banks, large corporations, and government priority projects. They use this new money to buy assets at old prices before prices rise. By the time the money trickles down to you, through salaries, through transactions, prices have already increased. You receive new money, but with already diminished purchasing power. That's how a small group of people becomes richer from money printing, while the vast majority becomes poorer. This is the dirtiest part of this game. There are 3 groups of people in the inflation game, and each group's outcome is completely different. The first group is the poor and working class, the biggest losers. They hold cash, put money in savings accounts with 4 to 6% annual interest, while real inflation is 10 to 15%. This means they lose 5 to 10% of their wealth every year without knowing it. They think they're being safe by banking, but they're actually being punished for their prudence. After 10 years, their real wealth is only about 60 to 70% of what it was initially. The second group is the middle class, the chasers. They start to realize the danger of keeping money in banks, so they invest in real estate, gold, stocks. If they're lucky and knowledgeable, they might preserve their wealth, even increase it slightly. But they have to bear high risks, constant stress, and are always anxious about the future. They don't lose, but they don't win big either. Just enough to survive in this game. The third group is the ultra-wealthy and large corporations, the biggest winners. They own income-producing assets like companies, rental real estate, business shares. More importantly, they can borrow at low interest rates to buy more assets. Inflation doesn't just not harm them, it helps them get richer faster. Why? Because they pay back debt with cheaper money due to inflation, while their assets appreciate with inflation. To help you understand better, let me give you a specific example. Billionaire Johnson borrows $100 million from banks at 8% annual interest to buy an office building for rent. This building generates $12 million in rental income annually. After 10 years with average inflation of 10% per year, the original $100 million of debt now only has purchasing power equivalent to $40 million today. But the building has appreciated to $250 million, and rental income has also increased to $30 million annually. Johnson's net profit is over $200 million. That's how inflation helps the rich get richer, by using leverage from the banking system. Meanwhile, Sarah, an office worker, also wants to buy a house. She saves $5,000 every month. At this savings rate, she needs 20 years to have $1.2 million, not counting interest. But in those 20 years, house prices also increased from $1.2 million to $4 to $5 million. The more Sarah saves, the further away her home buying goal becomes. That's the trap of this system. Hardworking, frugal people get punished, while those who know how to use debt and assets get rewarded. Do you see? Inflation is the most perfect and sophisticated wealth redistribution tool ever created. It transfers wealth from the pockets of the poor and savers to the pockets of the rich, those who own assets and know how to borrow wisely. And it all happens completely legally, even praised as modern economic policy. Stop believing the official numbers. I'm going to teach you how to calculate real inflation affecting your life. First, take out a pen and paper and list your family's monthly expenses. For example, a family of 4 in Denver, food $1,200, gas $500, utilities and internet $300, rent $2,800, children's education $600, healthcare and other expenses $400, total $5,800 per month. Next, compare with the same period last year. Food went from $1,000 to $1,200, up 20%. Gas went from $420 to $500, up 19%. Utilities went from $250 to $300, up 20%. Rent went from $2,400 to $2,800, up 17%. Education went from $500 to $600, up 20%. Healthcare went from $330 to $400, up 21%. Total spending last year was $4,900. The formula for calculating personal inflation is 5,800 minus 4,900 or 4,900% equals 18.4%. This family's real inflation is 18.4% per year, not 3.2% as officially reported by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This means if the family's income doesn't increase by at least 18.4% annually, they're becoming poorer despite feeling like they're standing still. Now you understand why even though your salary keeps increasing, life still feels harder. Why your parents with 50 to 60,000 salaries 20 years ago seemed more comfortable than you with 122 and 150,000 salaries today. That's not a feeling, it's mathematical reality. Calculate for your own family. Don't let them fool you with pretty numbers in the media. Your daily life is the most accurate measure of real inflation. And when you have this number, you'll understand why putting money in savings accounts is a terrible financial decision. Do you wonder why the official inflation number is so low? Why is there such a huge gap between what they announce and what you actually experience? This isn't an oversight, but a deliberate strategy. They use a basket of goods with cleverly designed weights to lower the inflation number. Specifically, in the basket of goods for calculating CPI, Consumer Price Index, Food accounts for 40%, but they only count rice, pork, basic vegetables, things that can be subsidized or price controlled. Housing only accounts for 15%, and they don't count home purchase prices, but only rent in certain areas. Entertainment and technology account for 5 to 10%, including TVs, phones, computers, things that tend to decrease in price due to technological improvements. The big problem lies in three calculation tricks. First is substitution bias. When beef prices rise, they assume people will switch to cheaper chicken, so they calculate inflation based on chicken instead of beef. Second is quality adjustment. iPhone 15 is more expensive than iPhone 14, but has better features, so they count it as increased value rather than inflation. Third is hedonistic pricing. New cars have backup cameras and parking sensors, so even though prices increase, it's considered quality improvement, not counted in inflation. The result is that official inflation numbers don't reflect people's real living conditions. They need low inflation numbers for three main reasons. First, to save government budget. Civil servant wages, pensions, social benefits are all adjusted according to official inflation. If they announced real inflation at 15%, the national budget would have to increase spending enormously. Second, to benefit banks from negative real interest rates. When real inflation is 15%, but lending rates are only 10 to 12%, banks are essentially lending at negative real rates, meaning they're paying borrowers. Third, to create the illusion of economic stability and maintain people's confidence in the monetary system. But this concealment has serious consequences. The first consequence is creating a permanent poverty trap. When wages are increased according to official inflation of 3 to 4%, but living costs increase according to reality of 15 to 20%, workers will become poorer relative to living standards the more they work. This explains why many people feel they work hard but can't get ahead. The second consequence is destroying the middle class and savings incentive. Hardworking, frugal people, those once considered the backbone of society, are punished for their prudence. Meanwhile, those who know how to borrow and speculate are rewarded. This creates an upside-down society where good traits like saving and caution become disadvantages. The third consequence is creating asset bubbles and housing crises. When money is cheap, negative real interest rates, the wealthy and corporations will borrow to speculate on real estate, pushing house prices to irrational levels. Young people, despite having stable incomes, can't buy homes because prices rise faster than their ability to accumulate savings. I want to tell you about Mike, a 28-year-old software developer from Austin. In 2020, Mike had $80,000 in savings and wanted to buy a $220,000 condo in Austin. He decided to save for 2 more years to have enough for a 30% down payment. By 2022, he had $120,000, but that condo now costs $350,000. He continued saving. By 2024, he had $160,000, but the condo was now $480,000. The harder Mike saved, the further away the house became. That's the trap of this system. It punishes people with good virtues and rewards those who know how to game the system. Now that you understand the nature of the game, how do you protect yourself? How do you avoid becoming a victim of this silent thief? I'm going to share with you strategies that the ultra-wealthy have used for decades to not only protect, but also grow their wealth in high inflation environments. The first and most important strategy is holding real assets instead of cash. Real assets are things with intrinsic value that can't be diluted by printing more money. This includes real estate in good locations, land and houses in areas with development potential, physical gold, precious metals that have been used as money for thousands of years and always retain value through inflation crises, stocks of companies with stable profits, especially businesses that can pass inflation costs to customers, other essential commodities like agricultural land, industrial metals. However, note that not all assets are inflation-proof. Real estate in bad locations without development potential can be left behind when the economy changes. Paper gold, gold ETFs, aren't as good as physical gold because they still have risks from the financial system. Stocks of weak companies without competitive ability can lose value even faster than inflation. The second strategy is creating passive income streams. This is how to make your income automatically increase with inflation without you having to work more. Rental real estate, house and land rents usually increase with inflation. Dividends from stocks. Good companies usually increase dividends with inflation to maintain appeal to investors. Online businesses with low operating costs can easily raise prices with inflation. Investing in yourself to develop skills and knowledge. This is an asset that can't be eroded by inflation. The third strategy, and this is a strategy only the ultra-wealthy dare to apply, is smart borrowing. When inflation is high, borrowing money to buy income-producing assets becomes an effective tactic. Borrow to buy rental real estate with fixed interest rates and long terms. Inflation will help you pay back debt with cheaper money while assets appreciate. Borrow to invest in business equipment, production machinery, things that help generate income. Absolutely never borrow for consumption. Buying cars, electronics, things that don't generate income and can depreciate. But remember that borrowing is a double-edged sword. If you borrow too much or at the wrong time, you could lose everything when interest rates suddenly rise or income decreases. Only borrow when you have stable cash flow to pay interest, and debt ratio shouldn't exceed 50 to 60% of asset value. The fourth strategy is diversification. Don't put all eggs in one basket. Allocate assets in reasonable proportions. 40 to 50% real estate, 20 to 30% quality stocks, 10 to 15% physical gold, 10 to 20% cash for emergency situations and investment opportunities. This ratio can change depending on age, income level, and each person's risk tolerance. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, is the financial education strategy. Understanding economics and finance is the most powerful weapon against inflation. Read books, take courses, follow reputable financial experts. Learn to read corporate financial reports, understand economic cycles, grasp market trends. This knowledge will help you make correct decisions in any situation. The important note is this isn't specific investment advice for anyone. Each person has different financial circumstances, goals, and risk tolerance. Research thoroughly, consult experts, and only invest in what you understand clearly. Most importantly, start today. Each day of delay means letting inflation steal more of your wealth. There are two paths before you, and your choice today will determine your family's financial future for the next 20 to 30 years. The first path is to continue sleeping. Trust the official inflation numbers of 3 to 4%. Continue putting money in bank savings with the belief that safety is paramount. Wait for the government and system to take care of your future. If you choose this path, after another 20 years, your real wealth will only be about 20 to 30% of what it is now. Your children will face much harder lives than your generation. They won't be able to buy houses despite working hard their entire lives. Will have to live as wage slaves forever. The second path is to wake up and act today. Understand the true nature of the financial system. Learn to play by the real rules, not the rules they teach the masses. Protect and grow real assets instead of letting money die in bank accounts. Create multiple income sources, especially passive income that doesn't depend on your working hours. Educate your children about finance early so they don't fall into the traps you once made. If you choose this path, you'll not only protect your wealth, but can also create a bright future for future generations. This isn't conspiracy theory or far-fetched reasoning. This is pure mathematics, verifiable statistical data, and world economic history over the past 100 years. Every country, every economy goes through this cycle. Those who understand and prepare will overcome and become wealthier. Those who don't understand or deny the truth will become victims of the system. The current financial system isn't bad or good. It's simply a tool, a machine operating according to certain laws. The problem is 99% of people don't understand how this machine works, so they become fuel for the machine instead of becoming its operators. It's like driving a car. If you don't understand how the engine, brakes, and steering work, you'll have an accident. But if you understand and master it, the car will take you anywhere you want to go. Don't let emotions control your financial decisions. Don't let anger at the unfair system make you lose your mind and make unwise decisions. Also, don't let fear prevent you from acting and continue hiding in the false safety zone of savings accounts. Instead, learn, understand, and act intelligently based on knowledge and logic, not emotions. The wealthiest people in the world, from Warren Buffett to European financial dynasties, they're not rich because of luck or being smarter than others. They're rich because they understand the rules of the monetary system and know how to use it for their benefit. They buy assets when prices are low, borrow money when interest rates are low, sell assets when prices are high, save money when interest rates are high. They're always one step ahead of the masses because they understand economic cycles and know how to read signals from monetary policy. You can learn these things too. You don't need to be born into a wealthy family or have an economics degree to understand these basic principles. You just need patience to learn, discipline to implement, and courage to act when necessary. Most importantly, start today, because time is the most valuable factor in investing, and each year of delay means losing tens of thousands of dollars in potential profits. Now you know that real inflation is much higher than the official numbers they publish. You understand who benefits from this silent thief and why the system is designed to benefit the wealthy few. You've learned how to calculate real inflation affecting your family's life. And most importantly, you've grasped basic strategies to protect yourself and your family from inflation's negative impacts. In the next 7 days, I challenge you to do 3 specific things. First, calculate your family's personal inflation using the formula I taught. Compare current spending with the same period last year and calculate the exact percentage. This number will be the basis for your future financial decisions. Second, reevaluate how you're storing your wealth. If you're keeping too much money in savings accounts, over 6 months of expenses, seriously consider moving a portion to inflation-resistant assets suitable for your situation. Third, spend at least 2 to 3 hours learning about one type of inflation-resistant asset, whether real estate, gold, or stocks. Read books, watch educational videos, seek advice from experienced people. If this video has opened your eyes and changed your perspective on the financial system, please do 3 things. First, hit like, so this video reaches more viewers through the algorithm. Each of your likes can help another family escape the poverty trap due to lack of understanding about inflation. Second, share the video with friends, family, colleagues, people you care about and want to have better lives. Don't keep this knowledge to yourself, because the community's general prosperity benefits everyone. Third, subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so you don't miss other deep analyses about the economic financial system. I'll continue exposing truths that the system doesn't want you to know. Remember, in this financial game, knowledge is real power, not money, not luck, but understanding how the system works. The ultimate winner isn't the person with the most money at the start, but the person who understands the rules clearly and knows how to apply those rules intelligently and consistently. The losers are those who keep playing by the fake rules that the system teaches the masses. Save a lot, bank it, trust low inflation. Don't let anyone, whether government, banks, or any other organization, decide your and your family's financial future. That's your responsibility and right. Equip yourself with knowledge, make your own decisions, and take responsibility for the results. Only then can you truly master your own financial destiny. Inflation, the silent thief, will never disappear. It's an inseparable part of the modern monetary system. But now you know how to see it, how to measure its impact, and most importantly, how to protect yourself from it. From a passive victim, you can become an active player in this game. The journey of learning and building inflation-resistant assets won't be easy. There will be times of confusion, times when you have to make difficult decisions, times when you face risks. But remember, the biggest risk is doing nothing, letting the silent thief continue stealing your wealth day by day. Start with small steps, learn continuously, and stay committed to long-term goals. 10 years from now, when you look back and see that your wealth has been protected and significantly increased, when your children have a brighter financial future, you'll be grateful for the decision to wake up and act today. And perhaps then, you'll also become someone who helps awaken others still sleeping in the system's subtle trap. Thank you for taking the time to listen and reflect. See you in the next video, where we'll continue exploring other secrets of the financial system that 99% of Americans have never been told.